What's up, Demon Pack? Welcome to another video of me. And today, as you guys can see, I'm going to talk about the football clubs that I support or that I like. Since I obviously have a very much a main club that I support, but I also a couple of years ago I decided to kind of like, you know what, I want to have a like I want to have like a team that I kind of like root for slash support in every single competition. But obviously I have one single team, which obviously will be talked about in a little bit. But I also have like other teams that I kind of like in the same competition. But we'll come to that right now. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start. We're gonna start with the Premier League and like kind of like England, and every division that's like below Premier League. Since my main team is of course a Premier League side. So to begin with, the first team, which obviously is my main team, and it's the club that I support like completely. It's the one that I follow the most, which is Liverpool. Liverpool is the club that I started supporting in the season 2011 to 2012. So that season, I will talk about it later, I think. No, I'll talk about it right now how it comes. So back then I was 11 or 12 or something, right? Uh, of age, and I actually used to support a different team. I'm just gonna mention that I at the time supported Real Madrid, and that was mainly because I was stupid and I thought that Fernando Torres was a Real Madrid player. I'm a genius. Anyway, I then ended up finding out that Fernando Torres didn't play for Real Madrid, but was playing at the time for Liverpool FC. So I decided, okay, well, since he's playing for Liverpool, I'm gonna support Liverpool. Now, of course, you're young, so you don't really think about other stuff like rivalry and uh, you know things like that. Also, I'm not local to there either because I'm born in another country, which we'll hint at in a moment. But yeah, basically, I started supporting Liverpool, and I think a week later, because I started supporting Liverpool in January, so in the winter transfer window. Guess what? A week later, he left Liverpool and joins Chelsea, and I was pissed off. So I was like, well, if you are gonna leave that team, then screw you. I'm gonna still support Liverpool. And I've been supporting Liverpool ever since then. And I've not dropped it, you know, since then. So that's basically the backstory of why I support Liverpool. Um, Next up is Eastleigh FC. Obviously, a team down in like the very lower leagues, and that's mostly because one of my favorite people that I know lives around that area, and that is, of course, the club that I chose to support because of that person. Then next up would be Chelsea. I think if I never began to support Liverpool, I probably would have supported Chelsea, mainly because my favorite colors are blue and yellow. So they tick that box, right? They have a blue home kit, and obviously, if you've watched the previous video, I obviously have talked about the fact that I like my favorite animal is a jaguar, and I obviously like any kind of cat or, or dog, right? So, and because it has a lion on their badge or crest, it obviously fits my whole thing. Next up is Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is kind of similar to Chelsea, it's mainly because of the animal on the badge, which is an eagle. I had a period where I was very much loving the American sea eagle. That was my favorite animal for a period of time. Still like it. I still think eagles are really cool and are one of my favorite animals. So yeah, that's kind of why I have a little bit of a soft spot for Crystal Palace as well. And then we come to two teams in Birmingham. The first one is obviously Birmingham City. This is mainly because of FIFA. I did. I wanted to make. I don't remember what the exact idea was at the time, but I wanted to do a career mode with a club that resonated the most to the devil, right? And I don't know where I found it from, but I thought I found like a legit article that kind of mentioned that Birmingham City was like the club of the devil sort of thing. So I kind of went with it. They also wear blue, which is also great. And of course, that kind of made me like Birmingham City a lot. I also kind of like the logo as well. I think it's quite a nice logo. So that's kind of where I've kind of like started to have a soft spot for Birmingham City. Next up is actually a rival, but you know, is what it is. It is Aston Villa, and Aston Villa is similar to Chelsea. You know, I like the badge because of the lion, mainly, and I've never really had much of a like issue with them. Uh, anyway, so and then actually a team that I have not included in this list right now is Wolves. Actually, funnily enough. I actually do also have a bit of a soft spot for them, like especially in the period where they were like fighting for Europe and stuff like that. I thought that was amazing, especially with the way they came up, and obviously the whole Portuguese like meme about that they signed only Portuguese players. That was pretty funny too. But yeah, I think that should move us to the next competition, which is the Jupiler Pro League and below. I will now state that this is my local competition, as I am born in Belgium and live in Belgium at the moment. Although I do very much hope to move out of Belgium in the future, and that is definitely part of my goal. Um, in Belgium, I support four clubs. One which is the original team that I picked, but that team got, I don't know if it got liquidated or if it was just in financial troubles, so they kind of had to get demoted to lower competition to survive. Uh, but obviously because they kind of disappeared off the big screen, if that makes sense. And it wasn't a team local to me specifically, so it's not like I could say at the time, because I was young, like, oh, let's go just continue watching the matches in the stadium, right? Because I couldn't. So I just picked just picked a different team, right? Obviously, I was young, so you didn't really think about it, and it's not like the two teams have like a rivalry. Anyway, so we'll come to that in a bit. And then recently, I've kind of picked up two teams that I've kind of grown to like, mainly because of a good friend supporting both of them. One being his local, and the other one being a team that he picked. I don't remember which he would choose specifically, like which he would say, like, "Oh, this one is my favorite." I don't remember. I probably should have asked him earlier because I was in a call with him, but he wasn't. He was not feeling so good, so kind of forgot. Anyway, the first team, which is the team that I picked after the other team got liquidated or got demoted, which is Racing Genk. Racing Genk is currently the club that I support in the Jupiler Pro League because the other team is not in the Jupiler Pro League right now. And yeah, they're kind of doing horrible this season. So yeah, but okay. One of the reasons was, of course, because they were blue, right? And another one was because it wasn't like the main characters, right? They were not the usual suspects who were winning the league, right? They're not usually at the time that I picked the club. The big four were Club Brugge, obviously, RSC Anderlecht, right? Those were the two massive teams at the time, and then Standard Liège was third, and then you would kind of see like Gent was like kind of like hanging forward, just vibing there, and then you had like Racing Genk with like Charleroi, like kind of behind there. So it was similar to where Liverpool was at the time that I picked up Liverpool in a sense. Uh, which is kind of funny to thinking back on it. But yeah, that's kind of why I picked it because I didn't want to be just another guy that just I'll support them because they're winning, right? And I do remember Racing Hink won twice since I started supporting them, but that's also kind of about it. Also, our system is horrible. Like the playoff system sucks. Um, and is a whole mess. Uh, but yeah, that's basically my first club right now. Then the second team, which is the team that got demoted because of financial reasons, is Sporting Lokeren. That's the actual team that I initially picked at the beginning of um, picking a team back then, and one of their players. I obviously don't remember a bunch of them, but I do know one player that came from there, currently playing for Club Brugge, and I'm sure even a lot of people outside of my own country, so outside Belgium, know of this name, especially if they're football like fans or followers, which is Hans van Aken. Uh, so yeah, that's that. Then the third team that I would pick is KVC Westerlo, which again they actually have a blue and yellow kits when they play at home, which is obviously mentioned it before. Blue and yellow are my favorite colors, so that makes a lot of sense. And obviously, because of a friend, I've kind of grown to like this club as well as the fourth club, which is Zulte Waregem, or like they want to say, Zulte Waregem. And yeah, similar to the Westerlo story, like this is just a team. This is the local team of my friend, and yeah, I've also kind of grown to like them. Also, Torgan Hazard played there, which is also pretty cool. So yeah, not much to say there because Westerlo and Zultuarium are more like recent developments, so there's not much story about it yet. Uh, so we can move on to the next country, which is the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, I unfortunately only have one team that I specifically like, um, quote unquote, support. Right? I mean, sure, I have a soft spot for PSV Eindhoven, but I wouldn't really say like much. Like it's not like I like Feyenoord as well, but I don't care about their rivalries in that kind of sense, right? Because I picked FC Twente. I don't know why. There was no real reason behind it. I just looked at the teams. I was like, that's the team. That's the club that I'm picking, and that's the team that I went with. And I have it. Uh, I'm following it on football. I mean, I'm not watching the games specifically, but I'm keeping up to date. With kind of where they are on occasion. So that's basically Netherlands done. So we move on to France, and a lot of people that know me personally will know that I have an absolute despise for most things with that has to do with France, and I don't know, it just is what it is. But I do pick two teams in Ligue 1, and the first one, which is the actual team that I kind of like picked to support, which is FC Nantes, and this is then, of course, because yellow, right? The color yellow was very vibrant, and of course, it was not like a team that was like particularly good. I mean, they were mid-table at the time. Obviously, right now they're in the relegation zone, which is great. And yeah, it's kind of why I picked them. You know, with mid-table side, they wear yellow, which is unique, and you know, the badge is nice, and that's about it. Didn't really give it much more thought. And then the second team that I picked is Olympique Lyonnais. I kind of like the team. A lot of good players went through Lyonnais. Also, again, the line bit in the badge, which obviously is very nice as well. But it's also, again, like a bit of a recent-ish development, right? Or like kind of, yeah, it's a recent development, but I kind of did kind of go back. I do know about like Lyon's like years from when I was started supporting like football in general, right? Then next up, we're gonna go to Serie A and below, which is Italy, of course. And the first team that I support is obviously Pescara, and this was mainly because I was, as I mentioned before, I hope to move out of my country and want to live somewhere else. And one of those countries that I have as an option in mind is Italy, and I think the story behind this club is actually that I just kind of like looked at the country and I was like, you know what? That city name, Pescara, I like the way it sounds, right? And then I just kind of fell in love with the city because of that. And I kind of just ended up finding that they have a football club, right? And they used to play in Serie C at the time. And I've kind of just added it on FootMob to follow along and kind of slowly begin to not particularly like crazy support like I support Liverpool, but to kind of like checking on them on once in like on occasion, and I do hope to kind of like see them in the Serie A at some point, but I'm pretty sure they're also in the relegation zone of Serie B right now, which is just great. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the whole story about that. It's mainly because I loved the city name and then began to like the city and ended up liking the football club. And I do have a second team, which is Inter Milan. That is the club that I chose to support in the Serie A. Mainly because of, at the time, well, he's still playing there, is actually because of Lautaro Martinez. Uh, so, yeah, that is mainly it. But I do also have a bit of a soft spot for the other Milan club in AC Milan. But I don't know if that's just nostalgicness because of all of the crazy players that played for AC. You know, like Maldini, Nesta, Gullit, Kaká, Ronaldinho. Like it's it's a bit difficult to not like them as well, in my opinion. But if I had to pick, Inter Milan for sure. Then we move to Liga NOS and La Liga and below. I decided to, kind of like put them together because it's a bit hard to like take Portugal in a separate category because they're so attached to Spain. So in Portugal, although I do also like Benfica and Sporting, I do have chosen the club Porto as my favorite Portuguese team. And this is mainly because, well, because they're if I'm correct, they're called the Dragons, which is kind of crazy. And obviously, also their stadium is called something with dragons or something. So that's cool. Also, one of my favorite player played there, so that's also a thing. But now we go to La Liga, and the La Liga club that I picked is Valencia CF. That's the club that I decided to support in Spain when I decided to go for that. And now recently, I have begun to like Barcelona a lot, even though that I supported Real Madrid in the past. I don't know why. I guess it's the fact that I grew up, but yeah, I do quite enjoy Barcelona now. Then next up is the Bundesliga and below. Well, it's technically only Bundesliga teams, but the first one is Bayer Leverkusen. That's the club that I picked when I, decided to support the team in every single competition. And as a second one is Wolfsburg, which is similar to the Birmingham City story, where I created a career mode and I decided to go with Wolfsburg. One, their home kit being this like crazy green is really unique and really cool. And I kind of had a blast with that career mode, so I do have a bit of a soft spot for Wolfsburg because of that. So there's that. And then as last for the club competitions is the MLS, which is mainly dominated by Atlanta United. That's the team that I picked instantly. I think it was mainly because of Josef Martinez at the time. Because I remember signing both Martinez's. I'm pretty sure Lautaro Martinez was a youngster and was like good potential. And I signed Lautaro Martinez and Joseph Martinez next to each other in a two-striker formation. And that's kind of like what I did. And also they also had Alberon and stuff like that. So obviously that's pretty cool. And then now we will move on to nations that I support on the international stage, and of course a couple of nations that I threw in there that I kind of like root for, that kind of like hope like they're like my little dark horses that I kind of hope that they do well, if that makes sense. Obviously, mainly because I'm obviously from Belgium, I have to back Belgium and support them, and they're obviously called the Red Devils. Some, funnily enough, similar like Manchester United, but that is the first one. We're not gonna talk much about it because it's just, my home country, if that makes sense. The second country is Slovakia, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But two of the main players that made me like Slovakia a lot are Hamsic, which I think is one of the craziest midfielders that I kind of knew slash like watched in a sense. And then the other one is Milan Skriniar. And the reason why Slovakia is like my second nation to support technically is because the mother of my grandmother was from, well, at the time, Czechoslovakia. And now, obviously, because now they're two different countries, from the area that she is from, well, she is from Slovakia, so I kind of have roots there, if that makes sense. And also, like, just like, imagine if you could have prime Hamsic with prime Arturo Vidal in the DM role behind him, with prime Pogba as his partner. That midfield would be orgasmic, in my opinion. But let's move on to the third country, which is actually a recent one, which is Japan. Obviously, the Oni mask, is technically, Japanese inspired. I like Japanese cars. I like anime. I am really like starting to like enjoy like the Japanese culture. I like sushi. I like fish in general, so that's a good thing anyway, right? So I do really really like everything about Japan right now. So Japan is at the moment also my main candidate to move to, and it's probably my goal to move there in the future. Um, Hence why I've decided I'm also going to kind of like root for Japan. You know, it'd be cool to see them do well in uh, internationally as well. So there's that. Then there is Spain, which is of course because of Fernando Torres, right? Because he's one of my favorite players from back then, and now currently it is mainly because of Lamine Yamal and Pedri, of course. Hence also the Barcelona uh, enjoyment nowadays. Um, so yeah. Anything else? Not specifically at the moment. The next is Colombia, which is because of two players, and one is of course my favorite player currently, and that is of course the one and only player that should have stayed at Liverpool, and that is Luis Diaz. God damn, I miss him at my club. That's for sure. And then as the second player, and I'm sure a lot of people would probably be able to guess this, is no one else but James Rodriguez. I remember, I think 2014, right, with the World Cup. I'm pretty sure at the time Real Madrid was spoiled for center attacking midfielder, right? They had James Rodriguez, they had Asensio, and they had Isco, right? And I don't know, I don't remember if they had anyone else for that position, but that was basically that, right? And I was so on board with James Rodriguez as well as with Asensio. Like those two players were my favorite players in that, like around that period. So yeah. Then obviously I also support Portugal, and I would love it if Portugal wins this upcoming World Cup. But I kind of think Spain will win it personally. So, but obviously Portugal because of Cristiano Ronaldo. Obviously because I'm surprise, surprise, I am a Cristiano Ronaldo fan. Um, but I'm not going into like the whole debate. I mean, I think Ronaldo is better than Messi personally, or more to say, I prefer Cristiano Ronaldo, right? But in the end, we got to appreciate both of them. That's kind of what matters. And obviously, Vitinha, I also very much like currently. So those are the two main players that I like very much in the Portuguese team. I mean, there is also Nuno Mendes, but right? And then obviously Brazil, and the reason why I support Brazil a bit is obviously because it's Brazil. Let's be fair, it just is Brazil. And that's mainly because of Philip Coutinho, of course, even though that he kind of, left with a you know, on a sour note. But at the time, I was absolutely fuming. But I was young and stupid. And now I am, I got older and began to understand why he did it, and I would have done the exact same thing if Liverpool were to come in for me and I was a crazy football player. So yeah, I would have done the exact same thing. And then of course Neymar, which is pretty obvious for a lot of people. And then my underdogs are El Salvador. as well as Honduras. And this is mainly because I just on FIFA I just began to like their flags, hence why I began to support them. Well, root for them because they're the underdogs. And that's basically it. So that's the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed this episode, or video more specifically. If you did, make sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And I hope you all have a wonderful day or evening further. And as always, I'll see you guys on the other side.